it and Tony Pollard yet. If you are, you're overreacting. Zeke plus Pollard equals fantasy gold. Melvin Gordon in the fourth round equals fantasy goodness. And everybody keeps freaking out about Zeke. You have to own Pollard. I've been saying it for weeks. But if you own Pollard and Zeke together, you have a top 1 to 3 running back. Not even top 4, not top 5. I think top 1 to 3. But it's all contingent upon having both of those backs. Now, if you missed out on Pollard, if you got sniped and somebody took him, you probably have some other players that you can throw in there. So I don't think you're completely out of luck or you're in some kind of danger zone that you can't recover from if in fact Zeke does hold out for 1 or 2 games into the season. If I had to guess, if I'm betting on this situation, I think that Zeke at most will hold out 1 to 2 games. My prediction that I've had for the last couple weeks is that if he does miss week 1, it's one of those things where this thing gets done in the 11th hour. Zeke's pushing it. They can't suit him up in time or get everything done in time, and Zeke ends up missing week 1 based off that. But I think that things will get ironed out before kickoff. It's just a matter of whether Zeke gets into the lineup. Now, if Zeke does hold out for 1 or 2 games, let's say, I think if you have Pollard, you're gold. You have yourself a top 1 to 3 running back. Everybody continuing to freak out is just driving the price down on Zeke, and you need to take advantage of this. So if you don't own any shares of Zeke, one of the main points of this video right now is to tell you go out and get him. Buy him on the cheap. Jeremy says Pollard no way equivalent to Zeke. No way am I saying that, Jeremy, at all. I'm saying that you have a potential 100-yard and 1 TD runner potential every time Pollard plays. Zeke is by far going to exceed those expectations on a weekly basis, but Pollard is sufficient enough. And what a healthy Zeke Elliott playing 14 games, what that can do is it can, in some crazy way, Pollard for 2 starts, add those points to Zeke for 14 games. You might just get yourself a player in those 16 slots that starts and scores more points than Zeke would have in 16 games because they might use Zeke different. They might be able to feed him more for those 14 games. Zeke scored over 20, depending on your scoring, over 21 points a game and would have still been a top 10 running back had during the time where he was suspended and he still played. I forget how many games it was that he actually missed, but he was still, I believe, a top 10 running back that year when he was suspended for a string of games. He's the kind of guy that even missing 2 games can still be a top 5 to 6 overall running back finisher, if not top 2 to 4, even missing 2 games. So, on the topic of Melvin Gordon, he's still 4th round potential gold. Is there risk? Absolutely. Is there risk with Zeke? Sure. I don't think the risk is great at all if you have Pollard. If you don't have Pollard, there is a little more risk, sure. With Melvin Gordon, there's a risk as well. Eckler and Gordon together is locked in, I think, to pretty darn good production regardless of what happens or how long Melvin holds out, because Eckler, I think, is the guy to own. He's the guy that gets more yards per carry, has averaged more yards per touch. Jackson's an interesting prospect, but I think it's Eckler that will fill in. Eckler will be the guy that could produce potentially pretty decent running back 2 numbers per start. But even if you don't own Eckler, Melvin Gordon's a great gamble to take on in the 4th round. And if you've already drafted, and we're talking about being, less than a week away from the season, most likely if you have a draft left, it's 1 out of like 4 or 5. So you have maybe 10, 15, 20% of your drafts left, depending on how many leagues you do. Some people are drafting this week. What's up, Gary? What's up, Jeremy? So most likely you've already drafted in most of your leagues. So time to go get Melvin while people are still freaking out. Time to go get Zeke Elliott why people are still freaking out. We're talking about buy low value that you probably won't see again in terms of the impact both of these guys could have. If Zeke returned tomorrow morning, he'd be the number 2 or number 1 running back in fantasy football ranked moving forward. If Melvin Gordon returned tomorrow morning, he would be the number 5 or 6 running back, maybe 7, depending on people worrying about him getting hurt because he's missed time heading into that point moving forward. That's crazy value. If Melvin Gordon returns, he goes from 4th round to potentially bottom of the 1st round. That's a crazy jump. And if you're not willing to take that gamble in 1 or 2 of your probably 4, 5, 6 leagues, because every one of you are doing a crazy amount of leagues like I am, why do you play fantasy football? There's some people that aren't risk averse at all, but I think that if you roll the dice a little bit, and you do when you play fantasy football at all, you're taking a risk in one league that can maybe win you your league. You can take that one risk that you can recover from. 4th round value is not a big, scary price tag to pay for a guy like Melvin Gordon. And Zeke Elliott, if you can get Zeke Elliott using a player you may have drafted in picks 11 through 16, like if you can trade a Julio Jones and get a Zeke Elliott, I take that trade all day long too. Any player that you've taken near the 12, 13, 14, 10, 11, wherever, trading that player for Zeke Elliott, I think, is a risk worth taking. And it's going to be funny when he returns how everybody's just completely back to normal. Zeke is a top 1 to 2 running back. It's going to be crazy. So my recommendation is go get this guy now in your leagues. Don't wait. Don't wait till there's buzz about him potentially returning. Don't wait until there's buzz about Melvin Gordon potentially returning. The window isn't going to be open forever, and now is the time to strike. Let me answer a few of these questions here. Have a 2 QB league tonight. Have the 9th pick. Any advice? I think if you don't get Mahomes, which you probably won't, you should certainly try and grab one of those big 4 running backs. Zeke is included. What's crazy is after I do something like this, I'm going to, in the comments of this video, I'm going to have people ask me, Smitty, I'm at number 7 in my draft. Should I take Zeke? And it's so hard not to reply, did you watch the video? Because I'm going to get people continuously asking me that. They want 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th attempt of reassurance of that, yes. Let me tell you now, yes. Yes, yes, yes to all the questions that are going to come rolling in about anything from pick 5 on. If you have pick 5, Zeke. You have pick 6, Zeke. You have pick 7, Zeke. Reach for Pollard, even if you have to go into the 7th round. You wait till the 10th round to get Pollard, you're not going to get him. You're going to have to reach into the 7th round to be safe, and it's worth it. And if you don't get Pollard, you don't have that extra protection, that almost guarantee of having top 1 to 3 running back numbers. I can't emphasize enough that you need both. I have a lot of people come to me after they've drafted, and they go, Smitty, you better be right. My whole season's on the line. I picked Zeke. And then I say to them, well, you'll be fine. You know, you obviously just drafted last night. You'll be fine if you used my advice and you got Pollard. You're golden. And then they say, well, I didn't get Pollard. Well, then you didn't take the full advice into effect. How are you going to succeed starting no player that's filling that gap for you? If you have, let's say, another player on your bench, like a Mark Ingram, you're going to be fine. Mark Ingram for 2 games and Zeke for 14 will give you top 1 to 3 running back numbers. So you will be fine. But Pollard's very important. Yeah, Pollard is starting to go. I don't know. I haven't seen him going around 5 or 6, Henry. I'm not sure what league you're doing on that, but that would be extremely high. I think he's going in the late 6, maybe on rare occasions that I've seen. I like Darwin a lot. Not sure what you mean, Savvy. Maybe you're answering someone's question above. Oh, should I pick up Pollard or Darwin Thompson? That's a tough one. I think Darwin's got the more appeal for the season. Pollard's got the more now appeal. But if you have Zeke, you need to get Pollard. So you need to make sure that if you're having to pass on another player, then you are to ensure that you get him. What are your projections for Dede? Dede Westbrook could probably be, I think, a really high-end wide receiver 3 and potential for more, but you got to expect, I think, that you can't expect more. People said keep drafting Bell last year and this value in the – well, if you drafted Bell and Connor, then wouldn't you have been in the same situation? You had an elite running back in Connor. I'm not saying Pollard will fill the role exactly like Connor filled Bell's role last year, but I don't think Elliott's going to hold out more than 2 or 3 games. I just don't. 1 to 2 games is what I'm predicting. But even if he did, let's say, hold out till week 4, Pollard's going to fill in just fine. If you only own Zeke, then you have more risk. That's the bottom line. These are not expert leagues. These were people who went 25, 250,000. Man, you frustrate me sometimes. Why, Henry? What did I say that frustrate you now? Damian Williams' stock is rising high for me. I have him at pick 11. I wouldn't take him that high. 11 is a little bit too high. Henry says Connor started going around 5 and 6 last year, just like Pollard. It's not easy to just get these guys. What do you mean it's not easy to just get these guys? Depends when you drafted. Connor maybe at the end of August was going higher. But Connor, I had talked about, just like I've been talking about getting Pollard before his value's been increasing. Connor before Bell even talked about holding out. So Connor was very easy to acquire when he hit the bull predictions on sleeperu.com. He was essentially free. He was essentially as easy to get as I'd say a Madison, who you can get in like round 9, 8, 10. That's how easy Connor was when I was propping him up last year. Pollard may be climbing higher and higher now, but most of you have already drafted. If you're doing mock drafts or any drafts right now, you might have to reach a little bit higher than normal. It might be a little uncomfortable, but I'm taking Zeke. That's my advice, and that's what I'm doing. If I'm drafting tonight, I'm taking Zeke at 4. Now, do I do it in every league? No, but I also don't have the number 4 pick in every league. Got Zeke, and then I got sniped in the 7th. Going to take Pollard next round, but I had to take Darwin first. It's a risk you take when you leave him on the board. What's going on, Jason? Smitty, what the difference between Damian Williams and Kareem Hunt and that offense? What is the difference? Damian Williams looks really good, and he knows the offense very well. I'm not sure if you're asking, can Damian be as good as Hunt was? I think if Damian's starting 16 games, which we don't, that's the one question. That's why Darwin Thompson has a lot of appeal, because Darwin Thompson, if starting, is a top 5 to 10 running back in that offense. Situation is king, and situation here is the king, and Damian Williams and Darwin Thompson are as good as they are in their own right, are basically just sitting there, and whichever one's inserted is going to be a top 5 to 10 running back. Darwin Thompson is the de facto starter. He's the guy that's going to be in there no matter what, unless he's hurt, because it's very complex, that offense, and he knows it. Whereas Darwin's learning. They're not just going to shove Darwin into the offense when he doesn't know it. So it's a pretty easy call, in my opinion, to pair them together and call them a top 5 to 10 running back, because the situation's gold. So do I think that they could produce Hunt-like numbers? Absolutely. You own that duo, you're set. Hit the thumbs up on the way in if you could, as Scott says. Can Justice Hill be fantasy relevant this year? Sure. He could be irrelevant or relevant. He's really one of those players that it's going to be, does injury open the door to him or not? Will he play well in the little spots that he's given? Sure. If he shines, it'll give him more carries. We kind of don't know what to expect. He's a stash type guy. You don't have to pay a lot for him, so I definitely wouldn't stray away from grabbing him in 2019 and hoping that he, as a stash, could become useful. But there's nothing telling us whether he's going to be featured at any point this year. He's just, one of those guys I would draft and stash in a larger league. In medium-sized leagues, I've seen him on waivers, and I have left him on waivers. I like him. I'm monitoring him, but I don't know that I'd for sure grab him in medium to small leagues until the time's right. Who should I start in place of Elliott? Kenyon Drake, Rashad Penny, or Breda? Those aren't extremely good options. You just got to kind of monitor Drake, and see what's going on with him. But I don't know. One guy I've been talking about, Dontrell Hilliard. I'm not saying he'll be great in week 1. He might. We don't really know the workload they're going to give him, but in a PPR format, he could get 3 or 4 catches at least. He's a guy that I really like to stash on rosters right now. I talk a lot about how Kareem Hunt needs to be cuffed to Nick Chubb. Dontrell Hilliard is the one player that could make that irrelevant. I think whoever the backup ends up being is a must for Chubb owners. Could it change and shift into Dontrell Hilliard's job to lose if Hilliard looks amazing? Hunt comes back. There's a lot of talk about, will they just trade Hunt? Will they look to trade him down the stretch? I very, 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 very much think Dontrell Hilliard has a ton of hidden appeal. One of my favorite, like no name, no one really knows who he is. Dontrell Hilliard, I'm scooping him up in every single league I'm in, even if I don't own Nick Chubb. I just have a weird feeling about Hilliard. Unberger, dropping another 5 spot. Thank you, sir. Unberger says, hey, Smitty, I'm back for some more top shelf fantasy football information. Any mock drafts today? Don't think we're going to do mocks today. We're just going to talk about news, prepping people. A lot of you guys have already drafted, so I want to give you a very good show that's news-oriented and sleeper-driven, and talk about guys to add, trade for. I still don't know why you're frustrated, Henry. You haven't really explained. You got Hilliard in round 18. That's great. I like Hilliard a lot. I'm stressing the Hilliard thing now so I don't hear later, Smitty, you didn't really talk about him. I heard you talk about Kareem Hunt. That's what I'm going to hear later. So you got Hilliard in 15 out of your last 18 drafts. Great job. Jeff says CMC or Barkley full PPR. That's a toss-up, man. I think everybody's kind of thinking Barkley at this point, but there are some CMC believers at the 1.01. I just feel like Barkley, especially with Daniel Jones looking really good now, how quickly will he get in there? I don't know, but I really like Daniel Jones. I was wrong. I admit it. Daniel Jones deserves credit and looks like he could be a potential star in this league in time. Give him some wide receivers, though, please, New York. Thoughts on Ty Montgomery as a stash? Not too high on him. Not too high. Thanks again, Umberger. Umberger's the man. Umberger, what were we going to call you? Umberger, what was it? What's your nickname? What's your long nickname? Mr. Can't thank you enough for the advice this week. I smashed it in my draft. Kamara, Odell, Fournette, Ridley, O.J. Howard, Allen Robinson. Backups, Darwin, Samuels, Pollard. Nice job, Mr. At a baby. Way to get it. Talk more about David Montgomery. Yeah, so on Instagram, if you guys have seen it or if you follow me on there, I was like, is it my problem? Is it my problem that I'm drafting David Montgomery too early and not taking advantage of this Montgomery falling to the 4th and 5th garbage that I keep seeing over and over? And it is. I'm drafting him in the 3rd round every chance I get. I'm not letting him fall to the 4th round. I draft in a lot of drafts with people that are followers and stuff. So he goes in like the 2nd and 3rd like all the time. So that's part of it. But in leagues where I'm drafting just with old buddies, or expert leagues where they're not as in tune with what I'm talking about and predicting, Umberger Big Bones 100, that's it. Yeah, I think he could probably fall to the 4th round more times than not, and I don't wait. I take him in the 3rd, and it's I don't know that I'm being an idiot about it, because I'm not getting to take advantage of this wave of ridiculousness and idiocy where Montgomery's falling to rounds 4 and 5. And I have so many people that message me and say, Smitty, here's my team. They give me their first pick. I love it. Their second pick, I love it. Let's say it's Cook and Juju. I'm like, great, fantastic. Then they show me their third pick, and it's some player I can't stand. They show me their fourth pick. They completely drop the ball with their fourth pick. Then I'm like, this guy's doomed. And then he says, and then in the fifth round, I took David Montgomery in the fifth round. And I'm like, how the hell is your third drafted player taken in the fifth round? You still pulled it off. Your team's amazing, even though you botched your third and fourth rounder. I'm not being able to take advantage of any of this because I'm taking Montgomery in the third every chance I get. Now, I'm halfway joking and making fun of myself because I'm taking him early, but I'm halfway serious too, in that I kind of wish I could take advantage of this, but I just don't want to miss out. I feel like even at third round value, he's going to explode from it. But man, I wish I had a couple leagues where I was able to fill that third rounder differently, whether it be Pat Mahomes at 3.02 and then Montgomery versus having to take Montgomery in the third round over and over and over and over. It's kind of frustrating. It's frustrating watching everybody else do this, and I don't, because of the league circles I play in, I typically am never going to see that value. Roger, Zeke missing multiple games, Pollard the star. We will see. We will see. I can't. Is there risk? Yes. If you have Pollard, the risk is small. The risk is not even that. It's not even risk. It's more of like you have a devalued slot that you are filling with one of the two players, and that slot is devalued to maybe low running back one numbers instead of having the top potential running back in the league. That is not a risk to me. If you have Pollard, you have very little risk, and you're just waiting for your top 1 to 3 running back value to be unleashed. But I have no problem starting Pollard for 1, 2, 3 games. I would feel really good about that. And if he doesn't do as well as we hoped, guess what? They're going to get a deal done even faster. If Pollard's going nuts, I still don't think it pushes things back too much to where they're like, oh, we're not going to sign Zeke now. Pollard's not the savior and the replacement of Zeke. He's not the face of that franchise. But if he's doing well, you're fine waiting one extra week. If he's not doing well, they're getting a deal done. But Zeke is the face of this franchise. There's more going on than just, well, we win week 1 or week 2. He's the face. The Cowboys are only hurting themselves by not having him in there. People are not happy. Fans are not happy. Sometimes it's about money more than it is about wins. Talk about Debo. What's his fantasy value this year as a rookie? So Scott, as a rookie, I think he could be eventually a high-end wide receiver 3. I really believe that. I think this is Steve Smith meets Anquan Bolden in his prime, and that's a good player. If you morph those two talents together and you come up with a comparison, that's the comp I have for this guy, Debo. He's going to be an absolute machine. Hope Dallas loses first game to the Giants, says Henry. Larry says, oh, I'm sorry, what were you? Smitty, what's Montgomery's floor and ceiling? That's from Cannon. I'd have to say his ceiling value is top 5 to 10. I think his floor value, anybody can get hurt. If he doesn't get hurt, then I think running back 10 to 15, I think he's really, really going to have a big year. I don't feel like there's a lot of risk in counting on top 10 to 15 running back numbers, and you're definitely drafting them at that value. You're not having to pay anything higher. Can you just take a chance, man? You take a chance, maybe you miss, but you take a chance, says Henry. Zeke misses 3 games. It's like missing 6. He has to get the football. He has to get in football shape. No, he's in shape. Zeke's been keeping in shape. He's going to be fine. He's not going to be out of shape. He's been working out. He's been in Cabo. Been working with Marshall Falk. He'll be fine. In my league, 1 QB with a super flex, 3 keepers. I kept Breeze, Kamara, and Mike Thomas. Was that stupid move? I don't know your options, but that sounds like a good a good squad to start with, my friend. So I don't think you probably made a mistake, but I don't know who you had a choice between. I have Ertz, says Christopher. Someone offer me Diggs for my Ertz. It's a 3 wide receiver league with a flex. Julio, Juju, DJ Moore, Gordon. They're right about the same, man. So I don't know that there's. Ertz. It depends on the tight end you have, but Ertz and Diggs are right there. So it kind of comes down to team need for you. Concept says, could Carlos Hyde get traded to a team like the Chargers? I don't know. I mean, anything's possible, but Carlos Hyde is not anything special at this point. Will he even stay healthy? He's a journeyman. He's gone, if he moves from one team to the next, the odds of a player moving and moving and moving and then having some huge, big-time success is rare. I don't think Carlos Hyde, of all those players that get put in that position, is going to be the one guy to make that work with his injury history. I once liked Carlos Hyde and thought he had a lot of upside, but eventually your confidence gets shattered when you move from team to team to team and you have no big-time success anywhere you go. Whether I go to Cabo, I guarantee you I'm not running the beach and staying in shape. Matthew, there's video footage of him just constantly working out. So I don't know. You're speculating that Ezekiel Elliott's going to go and just drink beer and party in Cabo. No, he's working out and he's constantly training. He's ready. He wants to come back. He's in football shape. He's good to go. And he would take a full workload if he stepped in today. Now, again, what I've been kind of predicting is that they get something done before kickoff, but maybe he isn't able to suit up for the game. That stuff happens when people try and push it into the 11th hour. Could Montgomery be a running back 2? No, Billy, he is a running back 2. Almost take a lap worthy type of question. I think Debo can steal the show in the offense. I think Debo is going to steal the show. I do. I really like him a lot. Smitty, can you check my question? Grant. Henry, stop filling up the chat. Smitty can read other questions, says Grant. I don't think that's your question, though, Grant. I still don't know why I bothered you, Henry. Maybe you posted it here. Can you post your question again, Grant? I don't see it. Smitty, you think Jared Goff can finish top 5 in that offense? He could, but I'm not banking on it. I think there's so many QBs I like a little bit more than Goff. But is it possible? Sure. What do I mean 11th hour, Grant? I mean like in the final moments they get a deal done before week 1, but he needs a certain amount of time in order to play. Like the team won't just, if he signed, let's say, Saturday night, he's not suiting up for week 1. So there needs to be a certain amount of buffer time in between. And so what I mean by 11th hour is that they get a deal done last second, but he doesn't play week 1, he plays week 2. That's definitely possible, something that I definitely envision happening if they don't get something done like today or tomorrow. Took Montgomery over as my running back 2 over Aaron Jones and Devonta Freeman. I'm okay with that. I like Aaron Jones a lot too, but I do like Montgomery a little more. So awesome job. I agree. Talk more about David Montgomery. I did. Talked about how I did a whole spiel on that, David, that on this show right here just a few minutes ago, that I didn't get to take advantage of that, and I might need David Montgomery therapy because I'm taking him too often, too much, and I am a David Montgomery drafting addict. If he isn't there by Tuesday, he won't play, says my ball. I don't know what the exact deadline is on that. I believe he has like 3 or 4 days. Yeah, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So yeah, about 4 days. Tuesday might be the final day. We'll see about Wednesday. I don't know what the rules are or what kind of time frame he's going to need to sign by, but it sounds like I would say Wednesday. But there could be an actual time frame on that. Keep Pollard He could be the James Conner in for the James Conner action. I think you're answering a question up there for Jay. Elliott owner wants my Pollard for Jeffrey. Yeah, don't trade him. That's a person that did not plan, the Elliott owner. So you make that Elliott owner pay by watching Pollard start for you for 1 to 2 games, or you make them pay the piper. And Alshon Jeffrey is not the piper. Alshon Jeffrey is bench material. You say to him, you either get Pollard and you bring the thunder, or you watch the storm from afar. Don't even fold under that. You're the one that got Pollard. You took Pollard from him. He needs to pay the price. My question is right about... there's a lot of questions rolling through here. I'm looking for it, Grant. Less than 1 week away. Smitty, 10-team PPR. QBs ranked higher, similar to 2 QB league. Mayfield, Odell, Mike Williams. Nice job. Darren, how's this team? I'm in a 10-team, 3 wide receiver PPR league. Rodgers, Kamara, David Montgomery, Mike Evans, Woods, Calvin, Kittle, Duke as your flex. I like it. I like it a lot. I think that's fantastic. I think you took advantage of your grandma and your dad and your little brother in that league, because you have a team that looks like you're playing with magazine drafters. No offense if they really are your family. Grant, my question is right about... Let me see, Grant. I'm looking for it. Grant. Sorry, Grant. I'm looking for it. You must keep posting it at like just the time I'm reading like 1 or 2 questions. Grant, hey, stop filling... No, I don't see it, Grant. Smitty, can you check my question? I see that question that you posted. I'm looking, Grant. Grant, if you have another one, post it. I have a lot of shares of Pollard. I hope Zeke stays in Cabo, says Buffoon. Dodgers sleeping right now. Hopefully. And not dropping deuces in the living room. Brandon. I already answered that. I keep answering Brandon's question. 8-team standard keeper league, Zeke or Bell. Nick, take a lap. Unless you just got here, Nick, because I've already explained that in tremendous detail. I'll assume you just got here, Nick. But Zeke Elliott's my number 4. I do get that a lot, guys. You'd be surprised where I say Zeke Elliott's my number 4. You take Pollard and Elliott, he's my number 4. And then somebody goes, okay, should I trade Brandon Jacobs for Zeke Elliott? I'm like, did you watch the video? Dodger deuces, Hazel. No scooter action tonight. You have the 1.04. If I go Zeke, how soon should you grab Pollard? Early 7th round, man, is at least where I think I would go. So if you're at the 1.04, you can take him at 7.04. It wouldn't be that crazy to do that. You're talking about guys that aren't going to... I mean, I love a lot of the players that we're talking about. Darwin, picking up those guys, but he falls in line with that kind of upside anyways, so you need to start taking a chance on him in the 4th. And if you had to, and you thought, okay, he's climbing up the pre-rank list, let's say ESPN moved him up or whatever, and you see Pollard sitting there and you're at your late 6th round pick, you just got to do it. If you're going to go Zeke, you have to get Pollard. If you don't get Pollard, you're going to lose sleep at night. So please know that. I have too many people coming to me after going, Smitty, I took Zeke, I didn't get Pollard, you better be right. And I'm like, you aren't listening to the advice. I said to get both. How do you feel about Tevin Coleman or Miles Sanders? I think that's not as a running back too, but as a really good flex, sure. Smitty got to take a lap, traded Pollard for Anthony Miller yesterday. Ooh, why? Yeah, at least Ernie's being honest. Let me get the take a lap sign. Yeah, take a lap. That's bad, bro. Anthony Miller, I wouldn't even pick him up. I once liked Miller. He has upside. He could be okay. I'm not saying that he can't change my mind, but Miller ain't going to do anything for you, dude. If you're starting Miller on your team, you're hurting. And Pollard could have been your flex, or you could have got a lot more. But, man, at least you're honest, Ernie. That takes some balls to come out here and say, I did this. I'm taking a lap. And Ernie's probably running right now around his building. He can't even hear us. But, Ernie, come here next time and post that before you trade it. Fournette will be a league winner. I don't believe that to be the case, Jake, but I've been wrong before. This could be the thing I'm wrong about this year, or one of the things. So trust your gut. Don't take everything I say as if I'm not going to get things wrong from time to time. And if that's your thing, man, stick to your guns. Took Adams, Juju, Carson. I don't like Carson in the third round. Corey, I've talked about it a lot. It's just way too high. Could he be okay late? Fourth, maybe. Would I take him in the fifth? Probably. But I am not touching Carson in the third round. There are too many other players that are falling there. Mahomes, Kittle, Damian Williams still sometimes falls to the third round. Aaron Jones I like a lot more. Carson, you can make the argument. I'm not saying the argument's not there to be made. I'm just not trusting that guy at all. You have Penny. You have very inconsistent usage and just injury concern. I just don't like it. I like him at the right price, but that's not the right price. Everyone keeps thinking that I don't have a line with Carson or with Connor or with Mixon or Todd Gurley. There's always a line, but it's where my line is drawn. Usually it's drawn in a place with guys I don't like, where I'm never going to be put in a situation where I'm going to have to draft them because my line's so far back. So with Carson, there is a line. I would draft him at a certain point. But I'm certainly not going to draft Carson in the third round when there's so many other players. Yahoo went off their rocker with their updated rankings. I bet that can screw up a draft so bad, or help you. You know, if they put like Pollard at like fifth round, then you're screwed. You've got to take him way early. You have to know your pre-rank. You have to know your league. You have to know ADP. If you don't, you're gonna miss out on things like that. Important things like getting Pollard, where to get Pollard. It's not going to be the same in every league. You have to know your own league and your own situation. I can't predict that for you. Just like in a Superflex, I can't tell you what QBs are going to go or where, because every Superflex, like an IDP leagues are so different from league to league. A Superflex league is the same way. My final IBL squad is Mayfield, Darnold, Cook, Monty, Samuels, Madison, Singletary, Tyreek Hill, Woods, Anderson, and Joku. So Cook, Monty, Mayfield, Tyreek Hill. Nice. I like it. Good job, Larry. Way to represent. I do Dynasty Talk, my ball. We're getting ready for draft day. You know, a lot of Dynasty drafts, they happen a lot earlier, so that's why you hear a lot of redraft. But my ball, you're going to see more Dynasty content come from this guy than any of these other channels. Just give me, the start of the season, and we're starting to talk Dynasty. I'll start mixing it into everything I do. I'll start doing, a redraft and Dynasty segment in a lot of my videos. So if you want Dynasty, if you want a Dynasty home video content, Dynasty home, you're looking at it right here. They have Chubb fourth overall, which sucks. Yeah, that big timer, that screws everybody. Talking about Yahoo's rankings, they put Chubb 4. It just influences so much. Your pre-ranked list you can take advantage of it, but it can also screw you. But I'd take advantage of that. Let people draft Chubb at 4. Take Hilliard in the 18th round. Thoughts on Sammy Watkins? He's undervalued a little bit at times, and other times people are taking him too high. He's all over the map. I don't know that I'm super high on him. I have him in the Throne League. For those that know what that is, it's an Instagram league I started where the followers draft for each community. So my followers drafted for me on Instagram, and we drafted Watkins, and he's okay. I'm not super excited about him. Larry says, Sleeper used the best forum on the net. Hit the thumbs up button. Thank you, Larry. Please hit that thumbs up if you like this content at all. What do I think of Mecole Hardman? I think he has a bright future. Very quick kid, and he's playing with the best quarterback in the entire NFL and the most explosive offense in the entire NFL with a guy that makes horrible decisions in front of him and Tyreek Hill that still could, who knows, have some of the past come back and haunt him. In Dynasty, I like him a lot, and I think that he has a real good shot at by end of the year being the number 2 wide receiver there. And who knows what that entails for 2020 and 21 and 22. We'll see. Did you see Ocho Cinco crying? Yes. I'll admit, this has me excited about Devontae Adams more than it did before I saw the video. I don't know about you guys, but Ocho Cinco was crying. Let's see if I can actually get that here. Ocho Cinco was crying. Let's see. Yeah, let me plug this in. See if I can get that for you guys. Show you a little Ocho Cinco balling. I don't know if this is gonna work. There's also some vulgar language on there that I don't know if I want to bring into this. Let's look at the news for right now. One second. Bear with me as I plug a few things in here. If I can get it to go in. Hold on. Where are you, plug? There we go. Okay. Let's go over some news. Let's talk news. If I can get my news to pull up here. Plug in. There. That just happened. There we go. All right, news time. Gano out for the season for the Panthers. Knee. Kerwin Williams released. Thomas Rawls. Goner in Jacksonville. Remember Rawls? How quickly they fall. A lot of cuts today. McKinnon likely headed for IR. We kind of saw that coming. That means that Coleman's even, Breda, Coleman. Some people arguing Breda. I'm not a big fan of Breda. I'm all about Coleman, if healthy, in this offense. Grant says, Larry, should I pick up Pollard or Thompson? Do you have Elliott in that league that you're talking about? If you have Elliott, you need to pick up Pollard. If you don't, I'd find a way to get both, but if you're just in one of those leagues, I'd take Darwin. Took David Montgomery first overall in a rookie draft dynasty. Out of all players, Anthony, that's a little high, only because he falls. So, I don't know. I mean, I think even in a dynasty startup, the guy's going in the second round. So, that could be one of those moves that you did reach quite a bit. I'm not saying you won't, love it later, but definitely high. Collins, if you don't, Grant, if you don't have Zeke, I'd say Darwin, because once Elliott's back, Pollard goes at nothing. Or he's a good handcuff. He's a great guy to cuff to Zeke. You want to have him all year if you're a Zeke owner. Don't cut him. Like if you're a Zeke owner and you own Pollard, don't cut Pollard as soon as Zeke comes back. But if you're talking about just owning one, Riley says Breda will outscore Pollard. It's possible. Ferguson got cut. That means Crockett is now the backup in Houston. So know that. Crockett might be the guy to pick up. Josh Gordon cleared to play week 1, which is fantastic for all of us. Ready for Gordon to return. In the Throne League, we drafted him, got made fun of by all 11 other expert pages. They said, oh, you're taking Gordon, he won't even play. That's ridiculous. What a dumb pick. Now he's a 6th rounder, thank you very much, according to ADP data, and we have him in the Throne League. We also drafted Duke Johnson, which we got made fun of. Oh, you took Duke Johnson. Look at Duke now. In the Throne League, we made some veteran moves in that league, where you, the followers, drafted my team with me. We did fantastic. Kiki could play week 1, maybe not. Edelman, his thumb, he's fine after Thursday. Edelman should play week 1. Don't worry about that. I'm still not super high on him, but Jalen Hurd expected to miss week 1. And then Jerry Jones said this about Zeke. Speaking Thursday, Cowboys owner Jerry Jones said he expects holdout running back Elliott to miss games. I just accept that, Jones said. And we talked about this last night. Guys, there's posturing here. There's no for sure anything with all of this reporting on Zeke Elliott. Both sides are trying to get the other to crumble. Don't believe anything either side mumbles out of their mouth at this stage in the game. What it comes down to is, does Zeke want to not play games? Is it really in his best interest to do that? Is there a deal on the table that he likes and he's just waiting to see if he can get a little bit better? Will Zeke meet them halfway in the final hour? So I love Duke too. I think Duke is a beast. Big Timer says right now, the best time to trade Pollard, his value is right around its peak. That could be true if you only own Pollard. Definitely give trading a whirl. Coleman was the lead back for better offense last year and failed. Riley, that's easy to assume and kind of draw a conclusion, but when you look at the yards per carry, he didn't do bad. Smitty, my worst player is Henderson, so is it worth him to drop Henderson for Darwin? You need both. They're both, Darwin and Hendy both have equal upside and risk. So honestly, that's a question I can't answer because I typically find a way to own both those guys. I just can't tell you to drop one for the other. I just can't do it. I can't force myself to pick because either one of those guys could win you a league. Joe, start week 1, Pollard or Miles Sanders. If Pollard's starting, bro, it's not even close. It's not even that's almost take a lap material if Pollard is starting because he's a low-end running back 1. So we're going to give you a pass in the lap, but you better get Pollard in there if he's starting week 1. What type of player would you be willing to trade away for Melvin Gordon? Anybody in the 4th round, really, unless your 4th round, the players you deem to be 4th round worthy aren't the same as mine. I would never trade a Mahomes. I would never trade someone like that. But would I trade a T.Y. Hilton for a Melvin Gordon? Probably. I probably would because I think once Gordon gets in there, you have a top 5 to 10 overall player. People just so easily cast these guys aside and say, I'm not going to take the risk because of what happened to Bell. I don't know about you guys, but I play in so many leagues. I'm not saying I don't care when one crashes and burns, but I like to think of it like it gives me the freedom to be honest and take a risk that I really believe in. Because if you only played in one league, you might be gun shy. You might be worried about screwing up your entire fantasy season and happiness for the whole year watching football. But I play in so many leagues that allows me to be, I don't want to say reckless because I don't want you guys to think I'm just throwing darts in the dark. It lets me be cautiously aggressive, but to follow, my heart in terms of what I think is going to happen and what I believe to be most in line with what really will play out. Honestly, I think this would be crazy. And there are crazier things that have happened, and that's one reason there's a risk. But I feel like it's crazy that any player would look at what happened to Lev Bell and say this is in my best interest, because it wasn't. It was a complete miss on Lev Bell's part. Lev Bell would have already earned $20 million and then headed into this year making relatively the same amount of money he's going to make this year. So essentially just lost $20 million and is back to making the same amount of money he would have made on his tender or in the contract. So Lev Bell missed by a mile. There are people that have argued that Lev Bell got what he wanted out of it. He did not. He lost $20 million by not playing in 2018. Even and people can say, well, he could have got hurt and he wouldn't have got his big deal. He would have earned $20 million. And right now he's on his way to earning, I believe, 14 something. And what if he gets hurt this year? It makes no sense. Malcolm Brown's stock is going up, says Anthony. Well, that's good because that means Darrell Henderson's stock is going down. Anthony says Henderson didn't look so great in the preseason. Well, there's the key word to you, preseason. And you're talking about a player that has already been anointed a 9 to 12 touch running back heading into the season. And coaches see things that we don't see in practice. A whole lot goes on outside of preseason snaps that are very limited, and you get judged pretty hardcore when you get hit behind the line by 4 or 5 guys, and it's not your fault constantly, Anthony. I wouldn't take too much. I wouldn't judge a guy off of some preseason carries and assume that you have him pegged as to whether he'll be good or not in the future. I love it. I love that. I have a lot of people that assume that I'm already down on Henderson, and it's so funny. Like, they come to me and they're like, so, Smitty, I guess we're not believing in Henderson anymore, right? like I've already decided it with him. And I'm like, no, not at all. Nothing's changed for me. He still leaves college as the most explosive running back probably in the history of college football. Darrell Henderson, more 20 and 40-plus yard runs than anybody in the nation last year. Number 1 in yards per carry at 8.9 in back-to-back years. 8.9 yards per carry in 2017, 8.9 yards per carry in 2018, and the most yards per attempt average than anybody in college football history. And when you watch his game film, big run after big run, home run after home run, you give a guy 9 to 12 touches a game in a limited capacity in an offense that is as explosive and well blocked and just ready to annoy and make somebody an amazing running back stat-wise. They're going to gift whoever's starting for that team an opportunity to be a top 10 running back. Just gift it to them, no matter who it is. It's just like Kansas City. It's just like Pittsburgh. And you're going to give a guy 9 to 12 carries, a guy that specializes in taking it to the house on one touch. That guy is going to showcase himself, and we'll see. Yeah, 8.9. I think that was a good 2 yards ahead of everybody, if I am correct on that. I'm trying to remember that off the top of my head, but I believe he was at least a good yard or 2 ahead of everybody with that 8.9. Should I start Mark Ingram or Chris Godwin? I think you start Godwin if it's PPR, and even if it's not, you might consider Godwin. Godwin's going to have a big year, and I can't wait. Hollywood Brown is a good rookie wide receiver to stash in in the last couple of rounds. I just don't like his situation, man. I like him, but his situation needs to change for me to like him. Just like A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown is one of the best polished wide receivers coming out of this 2019 draft class. But A.J. Brown is in a crappy situation. And we saw how quickly Arizona's situation changed, so maybe Tennessee's will. But I don't have a lot of faith in that Tennessee offense. I just don't. First 2 picks were Adams and Juju, so I went Aaron Jones and David Montgomery in the next 2 rounds, 3 and 4. That's fantastic. Henderson isn't running well the style blocking the Rams use, even though it's similar to Memphis style used, was why I think he struggled. There's people that have talked about that, but if you look at some of the carries, though, he swarmed. It's not his. A lot of those carries weren't his fault. Like, everybody's just freaking out. Like, you can undervalue preseason work and you can overvalue it. There's a good rhyme and reason to believing in it and not, depending on the situation. Looking at David Montgomery, you could say, oh, you're overreacting because he had one big play. That's an argument to make. Preseason's preseason. For people say that for a reason, because preseason football is deceptive. But I like to think that I have enough years of experience, 16, running fantasy football sites and giving information and being on a CBS Sports and NBC Sports radio show for 16 straight years. I like to think I've learned a little something. And I've learned a little something about myself and my own talent evaluation. And I will tell you that I feel pretty confident that David Montgomery, I'm not using preseason stats or whatever in a disadvantage to myself. And I'm pretty confident that with all of my years of experience that Darrell Henderson hasn't gone from being such a potential rich that everybody's been excited about to a rag because he had some bad preseason stats. And if you watch a lot of it, he gets swarmed as soon as he touches the ball. Give a guy like him 9 to 12 touches and in a consistent way, like give him a couple weeks, and let's see him pop off a run and then see where everybody's at. Could his confidence be shattered? Look at Ronald Jones. I don't know that Ronald Jones will ever recover. And he had enough talent if he entered that situation and the coaching staff believed in him, gave him a chance to grow. Kind of like Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt's first carry, fumble. And everybody's like, oh my God. Casey put him back in. He had an amazing week 1. His first game ever in the NFL he was on fire and he never looked back. Ronald Jones was never given the keys to the lineup and was never really truly trusted. And he kind of fell apart. Could that happen to Darrell Henderson? Sure. Any player can be misused and mistreated by the coaching staff, and it wouldn't surprise me. All right, guys. I appreciate all of you. That's going to do it for today's show. I wanted to get on and talk about Zeke and Pollard. Wanted to get on and talk about Melvin Gordon. Wanted to hit the news. And I will be back hopefully this weekend with a couple more videos to get you ready for the 2019 fantasy football season. Please subscribe. Please hit like. Please share with your friends. And please get on Instagram if you don't know where I'm at on Instagram. And get on over to sleeperu.com and get yourself a membership. Because what it will do for you is give you the bold predictions that I land year after year, the famous bold predictions that I've released on NBC Sports Radio and CBS Sports Radio for 16 years. They're the big draw on sleeperu.com. It's more than just the bold predictions. It's rankings, it's tools, it's trade calculators. I invented the trade calculator in 2004 in the fantasy football space. It's the first instant trade calculator. You can do 3-for-1 trades, 4-for-1 trades, 2-for-2, 2-for-3, 3-for-2. It's the way that it's built. It can survive multiple uneven player trades. That's what you can find at sleeperu.com, and it's $29 for the whole year. You get free one-on-one advice with me with that feature. So get on over there. I appreciate all of you. Thank you.